hear me?
Okay, I hear you now.
Yay. Hi. How are you?
Well, I'm doing all right. To get through the door here.
Yeah. It's good to see you. It's been a while.
I got in the front door, then I pushed the button that I didn't know what it does, and it took me right out the back door, and I had to do the process all over again.
Had to run around the house a couple times.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. There's a country song about that.
I'm sure.
Now I can see you good.
Yeah. It's
I
been a
didn't
long.
know. You just look like a handsome movie star.
Oh, I'm trying to follow in your footsteps.
Yeah.
Yeah, last time I saw you was last year at Drums Along the Hudson with Carmela.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm the one running around helping everybody all day.
Oh yeah. I thought you were a marathon running, getting ready for the Olympic Games.
Yeah, it's good to see you. So everything's going well for you during this time in the country with all this sickness out here and stuff?
Well, I'll tell you what, nobody in my family except one uncle got the virus and died, but he was 90 years old.
Okay.
And he had a head like a rock. He won't listen to nothing.
Right.
So he'd drive around in Niagara Falls. That's where he lived.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden he got sick. He went to the hospital. He didn't even last a week and he died, but he was 90 years old.
Wow.
That's the only one in my family that got it. And I have a big, about 4,000 cousins.
Okay. Yeah.
The only one.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
sorry about
other than that, that was last year though, that when the virus first came out.
First came out.
Sometime.
Right.
So other than that, it's not that bad.
Right.
Really. Because of course I'm retired, so I don't have to go to work. So that's a big bonus for me. And
right.
But we're staying home and doing craft work and all kind of stuff. So we're doing good.
Right. Yeah. It's good. We all down here managing pretty well in this city. You know, everybody's got their mask on, so you can't identify nobody unless they.
So do you run into Kamala sometime?
Yeah, actually, we're supposed to have lunch one day soon. We talk pretty frequently though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, probably at least once a month. You know, I'll talk to her. Yeah, but she's doing well. Yeah, her and the other Tom is doing well.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. They're such a nice people, them people.
Yeah. And you know, I work here with.
Did you know Floyd Oxman?
Yes, I did.
He was from down North Carolina.
Yes, he was. Yep.
You knew him?
Yes.
Oh yeah. That's too bad he passed away.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't that old, was he?
No. How old was Floyd? You got
70.
70?
That's young.
Yes.
He would have made it through 70.
That's young.
71.
Yeah. I work here with David Martin and Diane Frere. They work very close with Lloyd for a lot of years. I knew him when, he did some work back in North Carolina before I moved to New York. So yeah, because I've only been here for about 6 years, and you guys haven't kicked me out yet.
Oh yeah. You know Desmond Jones?
Yes.
Yeah, he comes here quite often because he works in Schenectady and Amsterdam and Albany a lot, doing that zip rock, what they call it.
Right. Yeah.
Him and his brother. Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to take a little time and first talk with you a little bit. I know your time is valuable. I really appreciate you spending some time with us today. Like I spoke to you about on the phone, this is a series that we're doing for American Indian Heritage Month, where we are really trying to educate the non-native public on the significance of our culture and the value that our culture has been for the foundation of what they think America is, really, in some cases, right? So I wanted to just kind of, as we say in the South, chew the fat with you a little bit,
Oh yeah, they say that in the North too. They say something else up. They say something else up here.
Right. Might be a different kind of fat, but we still children
a
fat.
male cow.
Right. And
Yeah.
yeah, but so come if you could share with us, you know, like a little your insight on the knowledge about the what we consider the first true constitution, which comes from the nations up there. What you know, how that was the original concept, and how the United States, in forming their baby country at the time, you know, how they, you know, looked at that as the example for what they wanted to follow.
Yeah, well, it's I think it's recorded in history, but that recording of the history in various forms has been put on a back shelf of the most back shelf you can get.
Mm-hmm.
And then it has been then covered with a blanket or curtain so nobody will see it
Mm-hmm.
throughout the history. But every once in a while, some scholar or academic person, usually doing a PhD paper or something, will run into it, I think,
Uh-huh.
and then they'll talk about it and it'll get some air through that means.
Mm-hmm.
But by accident, I'm thinking, not by intention, by any government or program or anything. So when that happens, they quote Benjamin Franklin quite often because he seems to be, him and Thomas Jefferson, I think it is, they named them two, who had more, Benjamin Franklin had more exposure to the Iroquois leadership.
Okay.
I'm not sure to what extent that friendship was, but I heard John, who's since passed away, say that they were kind of friends with some of the leaders with Benjamin Franklin. But I never asked him, what does he mean? But he did say something about perhaps they went fishing together or something like that kind of a friendship.
Right.
But he was just saying that as I don't think that was true, but they were friends.
Right.
That's what he means.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have another friend who is a non-native guy from, I didn't know, New Hampshire or Massachusetts, someplace over there. And his name is Mr. Stuart Weeks.
Okay.
And he comes from a family of non-native people that his great-grandfather, I guess, came over on the Mayflower, on the first Europeans to come here.
Okay.
And they were influential in, I guess, establishing America.
Mm-hmm.
And so he lives yet today. He's a little younger than I am, I think. Maybe he's older than me. I don't know. But I tend to think of him, he might be a little younger.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he says, he made a quote of Benjamin Franklin. It's documented somewhere. He was quoting him just as recently. And he said, there will never be justice until justice has been served to the Native Americans.
Mm.
That's what Benjamin said way back in his time.
Right.
And it's documented. Now, other than that, I don't know. But then also, I did see some documentation in a book one time where Benjamin was saying too, something about 12 or a dozen or so civilized, supposed to be civilized nation,
Right.
can't form a union like a group of savage or Indian 5 nations have done.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but now I'm going to tell you, that's the academic part or the documentation part.
Right.
Okay, that's the history. But my great-grandfather, my grandmother's uncle, well, he's long passed away now,
Mm-hmm.
but he went to Carlisle School in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And he was one of the young Indian boys that ran away, I think 2 or 3 times from Carlisle, Pennsylvania
Okay.
in the dead of winter
Wow.
when he was only 7 or 8 years old.
Mhm.
And he went through the mountains, the Pennsylvania mountains, Allegheny Mountains, and
Okay. Yeah.
Adirondack Mountains in
Right.
order to get back home to Akwesasne, only 7 or 8.
Wow.
And then they would find him eventually that
Right.
he had he had gone home, and they sent him back to the Carlisle again. And I guess he did it a couple of times. I'm not sure.
Uh-huh.
Um,
He
and I
came
didn't
to
know
visit.
this either until the lady who handles the history at Carlisle
Right.
told me just a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, that grandfather used to talk about, he used to say this, and of course, he's an old man, and probably he didn't have all his teeth, and plus his first language is Mohawk, and so when he talks English, he talks it different than American people do. So
Right.
he had, I guess, an accent. Um, so here's what he used to say: 1754. That's what he says.
Mhm.
And when I was growing up as a little boy, I used to hear him say that 1754. So I thought that when I was a young guy, that's how you're supposed to say it. So I would be saying it too, 1754. I didn't know that it's because he's old and maybe don't have enough teeth or something,
Right.
or maybe he don't speak English well enough.
Right.
So I used to, as a young man, say that just in the same tone and the same mistake as he did.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Until later on, I found out that, it's kind of funny. It's kind of silly too. But he said that in 1754, at the Schenectady, and when we say Schenectady, we're talking about, the Mohawks from Albany going to Utica,
Okay.
all in that valley, they call the Mohawk Valley, where there were dozens and dozens and dozens of Mohawk villages. Some belongs to Bear Clan village, some is a Turtle Clan, Wolf Clan, and several of each of them
Mm-hmm.
in the valley. Well, going east from where we live towards Albany or Schenectady, which is present-day Schenectady,
Right.
pine barrens over there
Mm.
in that day. And so when you say Schenectady, you say on the other, because we call it Ohneta, means the pine trees.
Okay.
And so that's Ohneta. That's in our language, Ohneta.
Mhm.
So when you say Schenectady, it means on the other side of the gum trees.
Okay.
And the reason why we call a gum tree, the pine tree, is because when you scratch a pine tree, a gum comes out of there, a
Right.
gooey gum.
Right.
And so we always refer to any of those pine tree as a gum tree or neta.
Right.
So Schenectady, on the other side of those pine trees, that's all of Schenectady, Albany, Troy, New York, all through there. That's what we call Schenectady, which later became the city of present day Schenectady.
Right.
They can't quite say it. Almost they can say it
Right.
right though. So my great grandfather, when I was a little boy, said 1754. That means they had a meeting
Mm.
in 1754 on the other side of the pines,
Mm-hmm.
meaning Albany area.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, your great grandfather was one of the leaders, and him and others took the wampum belts that contained the articles of our Constitution that is 2,000 years old.
Mm.
And it was requested that they would recite that law or that Constitution that made the 5 original nations a confederacy.
Right.
So he said, your great grandfather was over there, and he held his hand out, arm, and on laying on his arm was wampum belts. They were long wampum belts, and it would even touch the floor, part of it. And then he would point to the different symbols in the wampum, reciting the principles or the functioning of the great law to Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson at Schenectady in
Okay.
1754.
Wow.
And of course, when I went to school in the American school, government school, on the reservation, I never went to the boarding school because by that time when I was born, they made an Indian school on a reservation called the St. Regis Mohawk School.
Okay.
And only Indians go there. No French, no Irish, no Italian, all just Mohawks goes there. It was a government school. And that school was like that all the way until 1956, 1957,
Right.
when they centralized the schools. And that's the first time us Mohawks ever went to school with American people.
Wow.
English or French. We never went to school. We always went to school with our own self. And then before my time, my grandfather and my great grandmother, the one I'm talking about, they were sent by train to Carlisle, Pennsylvania. And there was no American people or French people, all Indians.
Right.
From Lakota, Choctaw, Seminole, Navajo, Hopi, Arapaho, every kind of Indian.
Right.
Kids went to school there when they were only 4, 5, and 6 or 7 years old.
Wow.
And they had to stay there. Like my grandfather went to school there. My mother's father, he went when he was 4 years old, and he didn't come home until he was 21.
Woo. Wow.
So from 4 years old to 21, he never seen his father or mother or uncles or nobody.
Right.
He just stayed at that Carlisle till he was 21. Because after he finished the Carlisle, they used to loan the Indian boys out to the white people to work in the barns and harvest their fields.
Right.
And my grandfather was really good with horses and shoeing horses and harnessing them up and with carriage and
Right. Right.
horse. He really do that and farm work. Well, maybe he learned it there. I don't know.
Right.
But that's why when he finished Carlisle, the white people said, "Don't go home. We hire you to stay here and
Right.
work for us."
Right.
That's why he didn't come home until he was 21, since
Right.
he was 4 until 21.
Wow.
And when he got home, he only had one. He had no more father, no more mother, no more uncles except one uncle. But he had a lot of cousins. But anybody, uncle or aunt, they all died except for one. And that's what happened to him. That's my mother's father.
Yeah.
But my great grandfather is the one used to run away. And my grandmother was a seer. I don't know if you know what I mean when I say seer. She was sort of like what do you call that when they have extra power?
A visionary or?
Yeah, like a visionary.
Right. Yeah.
So when somebody gets sick, they go see her,
Right.
and others like her, and they can find out why you have a problem,
Right.
are you sick, or if you're emotionally upset, where did it come from?
Right.
And she was like that, and so my great grandfather, the one that used to run away from the Carlisle, that's my grandmother's uncle. So it's also in his blood
Yes.
to see.
Yes.
And that's why even though he was 7 or 8 years old, in the dead of winter, through the woods and the mountains, 3 mountain ranges, he would go and he'd make it over 650 miles from Carlisle back home in the dead of winter without following any road, just
Wow.
the woods.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say, how did he do that? They were like, it was a miracle. It's because he was like my grandmother and my mother. They had like the power to see.
Right.
They were seers.
Right.
And so when he was little, he was born with that too. the spirits guide him and show him how to do it.
Right.
And that's why he was successful.
Yeah.
Well, it's that grandfather. They used to say 1754
Mm.
in Albany, and well, he would not. He don't say Albany. He says Schenectady or Humtkanisha. That means they met over there with this Benjamin and Thomas. He used to say Benjamin and Thomas Jefferson. Ne to ne was suguri hunyo ne chinyiguayano soloda means he was teaching them our law,
Mm.
the law of the Iroquois, or
Right.
the Constitution.
Right.
And so that's what I know orally.
Mhm.
When I went to school in the government school, the school told us we are not allowed to talk Mohawk in the school. It was forbidden. This is in my time,
Right.
and I'm not that old yet.
Right.
And
Oh, you're younger
so
than
they
I.
would, huh?
You're younger than I am.
I'm young. I'm a young guy, just acting old. Yeah, yeah. But you can tell I'm lying a little bit because you just look at my hair and all that, you see it. Yeah, yeah. No, I think you're a little bit younger than me. Because I can tell how many hair you got on your head.
Right. I'm with it.
So now, when my great grandfather used to say this at the school we went to, because they didn't allow anything native, no native history, no native language, no native spirituality or anything
Right.
cultural or tradition. It was forbidden,
Wow.
completely forbidden.
Uh-huh.
It was strict about it, and
Right.
you'd get punished if you try to talk the language, or if you try to. And every Monday, we would have at the end of school they would release us early, and the priest would come after Catholic Mohawks to go to church and have they call religious instruction.
Mm.
And then Protestant, they have another church in Hogansburg, and there was only a few Mohawk belongs to that,
Mhm.
and they would go there. And then the Loungehouse kids
Okay.
who aren't Catholics or Christians, the priests, the nuns would take them, even if they don't belong there, they would have to go to church for religious instructions.
Mm.
That's how it was every Monday. So the school told us not to believe in what our older people says about the history or something like treaty or something like that.
Right.
Because they said when those old people talk, they never went to school or they don't write things down, and everything they say about history doesn't have a documentation because we're an oral society.
Right. Right.
So, but if you're an oral society, they consider the school system, at least the one I went to, that it's not of substance,
Right. Right.
not documented.
Right.
So
Right.
it's just a myth. It's
Right.
just a story like Cinderella or whatever else they talk about
Right.
for kids.
Right.
And so they taught us not to respect our elders
Mm.
when they teach us something that it's only a myth. It's not true.
Right.
It's just a made up story.
Right.
So they put that in our consciousness.
Mhm.
Even though we don't want to believe it, they said it so much and by different teachers that if you say something a lie enough, you
Right.
start to wonder if it's true, and then you start to subconsciously take it as the truth
Correct.
because it's been written to you too much at a tender age.
Right. Right.
So when my grandfather said about Schenectady and Benjamin Thomas Jefferson being taught by our great-great-grandfather, I even have a picture of it now.
Oh, really?
It's not actually a photograph like Kodak does,
Uh-huh.
because in those days, when they did that meeting, an artist drew it on
Right.
a wall.
Okay.
I didn't know that. Accident, I found that out. And then my friend, Mr. Stuart Weeks,
Uh-huh.
in his connections, sent me a picture of that mural painted on a wall.
Wow.
Okay, now, so when I heard Grandpa talking, I didn't know if it was true. I thought, oh, maybe the teachers at the Mohawk school, that's what they mean, not to believe my grandfather when he talks about the Schenectady in
Right.
1754, because there's no documentation. He's just saying that.
Right.
That's what's in my head. But that's my grandfather. I want to believe, but in the back of my head, it says it's not true.
Right. Right.
So there's a conflict.
Right.
And all Indians, I believe, is like that.
Wow. Yeah.
We're always fighting ourselves.
Right.
Army don't have to make us fight. They already put the army in our head to fight us, our
Right.
own self.
Right.
So then one time, I don't know if you ever heard about it, we had a group called White Roots of Peace.
Yes.
Yeah. And we traveled all over the United States and Canada, and sometime to Mexico, Guatemala one time. And this was in the 60s and 70s and part of the 80s. And we happened to be invited at Albany, New York, at the education building. And that building is probably, I don't know, 200 years or 300 years old, maybe. However old Albany is, I think that's how old it is.
Right.
And it's called the New York State Education Building. I think they got a new one now, but I mean, back in the 60s, when we were invited there, and I don't know why we were invited, but we were, a group. There was about 12 or 13 of us.
Okay.
And the man who was in charge there, he said, I want to take you down cellar. It's because of what we had told them, wampums and things.
Right.
And he said, I want to show you something. So he took us all down cellar.
Okay.
And there were guards down there. And he opened those things down there, and he pulled out the wampum belts.
Oh, wow.
He pulled out that they had confiscated away from the Onondagas and Mohawks and Cayugas and Senecas, in order that we will forget our history and lose our identity.
Wow.
And our young would not know nothing. That's why they took those away from them.
Right.
And ever since I was a young boy, I could hear our leaders say they stole our wampum so that we won't know who we are.
Right.
And then we can't argue to defend ourselves because we don't know who we are. We don't know what we're talking about.
Right. Right.
So that man took us down there, and he showed us big wampum. It's probably the same wampum belts that my great-grandfather said that our great-great-grandfather was using those same belts to explain to Thomas and Benjamin Franklin.
Wow.
We almost got in big trouble over there.
Oh, yeah.
I shouldn't probably tell you what I was thinking.
I'm not going to put this out.
They stole those belts, and maybe the young Mohawks can retrieve them.
Right.
But we were all young, but we weren't going to do that.
Yes.
But then something told us we better not, because if we do that, even though it seems it's right to take it away from them,
right,
our elders will probably get mad at us, even though it belongs to them.
Right.
But because it's not the proper
Right.
way.
Right.
I mean, that's what they did to us, but we shouldn't do the same thing. You
Right.
know, do a different way.
Right.
Well, anyway, then this man at the education building took us to the second or third floor. And I don't know or remember why, but he said, I want to show you another thing. And then on that wall, it's about 12-foot tall wall or more, because those buildings have a tall ceiling.
Yeah.
He said, I want you to see this artist's drawing of the Iroquois leaders. And at the bottom of this drawing of this artist, in big foolish. It said 1754,
Wow.
and the bells rang in my head,
Right, right.
and I started crying.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Because I found out that what Grandpa said is true.
Yeah.
There is the documentation.
Yeah. I ain't on the wall.
My elders are not liars,
Right.
and they don't tell stories like Cinderella and whatever else stories are. They don't tell that.
Right.
What they talk about is the truth.
Yes.
And when I seen that gold letter, 1754, I could hear my grandfather say, 1754. That's what I heard. And
Yeah.
it hit me real emotional.
Yeah. I feel it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I can feel it. Yeah.
yeah. So that's what I wanted to share with you. I got to know them older people and the different old chiefs in my life. But of course, my grandmother was was a clan mother too, and as such, a lot of leaders would come to her house, or we would go to their house because she was a clan mother,
Right.
and I was her tail. I was her tail, so I was privy to listen to elders talk in the Mohawk
Mm. Mm-hmm.
language, the language we spoke all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, because I was born there with that kind of grandmother, I could listen to many elders what they're talking about,
Right.
and that's why today people, when they want to know something, they think I know, and a lot of times I will because I heard the old people talking.
When you were
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I I feel bad that I don't know my community's language, fluently. My background is Saponi, from North Carolina, Tutelo Saponi, and of course I have some relation to the Tuscarora, um, up in Seneca area, right? So,
Yeah.
but we were so far removed from a lot of things and moved around a lot down in Ohio to North Carolina and all of those places. We lost so much language and so much history, so when I see you and how much that emotion registered with you when you saw that 1754, I could feel it myself.
Yeah, yeah,
and I'm not technically I could be your relative, who knows, but I can feel
well,
it.
those old people were very friendly people, so you might be one of my relatives.
So how do you see with today? I know you've lived through what now, really like 5 or 6 major generational changes in the world. So how do you see that original instruction and teaching of those that your great grandfather and them taught? How do you see that in today's social world or the climate that we are living in today? I mean, it seems so chaotic and lost, the world itself, do you see any of
I'll
that?
tell you.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. I think that even though the Iroquois people today still have lots of we still have our language quite strong yet, especially the Mohawk people.
Right.
They have the most fluent speakers.
Okay.
But the Senecas have some, but way less than the Mohawk.
Right.
And Onondagas and so on. But they're still fluent speakers amongst them. But also we have lots of our ceremonies still going on, and everyone still got longhouses too in the different nations of the Iroquois here, and so all the ceremonies, most of them that I know of, since I was young, are still going. And of course, the big difference is when I was a young guy, the longhouses hardly had anybody in there except old people,
Mhm.
old ladies and old men.
Mhm.
The younger people had become Christians, been converted to Christianity,
Right.
or they've been going to boarding schools and converted there, and so they were not raised with it.
Right.
Some came from families, but they were because of what they were taking to residential schools. They didn't grow up in closeness with the tradition and the spirituality.
Right. Right.
Except for those that didn't go to school, that's where it remained kind of strong.
Right. Right.
And my grandmother never went to school one day in her life,
Mm.
although her uncle, that's the one I'm talking about, Paul Biro, he's the one that ran away. He went to school, but she never did.
Right.
And some of them never went there. They hid out, or they hid them. They wouldn't be taken.
Right.
But my grandmother was one that didn't have to go there at all. And so they hold a love and a compassion for the tradition
Right.
because it was attacked directly. But not directly like the people that went to schools.
Right.
They were punished.
Right. Right.
Hmm. So when I was young, the roundhouse ceremonial houses, called roundhouses, were not that populated, and most of them were old people,
Okay.
and meant they were going to die not too long from that time. And they used to talk about it. I remember them talking about it, that the young people aren't listening, they're not ceremony, and they're not learning
Right.
their, how to run things
Right.
in a ceremonial way. And when they die, they thought that means all the doors will close.
Right.
There will be no more ceremony after them, because America took our young, Christian missionaries took our young
Right.
and made them forget what the Creator gave them
Right.
and their spirituality. And so they got divorced from it
Right.
because of all the intensity of brainwashing and conversion to Christianity. And that's really what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so they would some of those old people would cry when they talk about it. But I remember one old chief he was in the My Bear clan family. He talked about it, and he said, if young people don't come to see us and learn how to run the ceremonies, he said maybe when I die, if I die, maybe nobody's going to be here to bury me with the rituals that we're supposed to do.
Right.
And then maybe you will have to just throw me in a ditch somewhere because you don't know how to do nothing anymore.
Right.
That's some of the comments he made.
Right.
And he would be like crying.
I bet.
And then he says also, uh, if I do die and get buried under the ground, he says, and nobody studied the ceremonies and our traditions and our spiritual ways, well, he said, when I'm buried under the ground, I guess I'll have to take it with me under the ground, but at least I'll rest because I know it will be with me under the ground in the Mother Earth, and the young people will not use it or abuse it because they don't know how to handle it.
Right. Right.
So at least with me under the ground, when I die, it'll be protected because the young don't want it anymore.
Right.
But it's not the young people's fault.
Right.
It's because of the residential schools and the missionaries, what they did to make us not believe who we are, what the
Right.
Creator made.
Right.
But now the world is almost going to disappear and be polluted right to the greatest pollution. And most of the countries of the world and the powers of the world don't even really care. They
Right.
just keep on polluting. They just keep on looking at the big money. They're not looking at how do you partner with the creator.
Right.
They're not looking how do you
Yeah.
the earth
That's
and all this. So when I was a young man, I seen the old people cry. The old ladies cry because they knew, like they call it, maybe you call it today, the writing on the wall. So myself and a bunch of younger people, we were talking about it, and we said, well, what are we going to do then? Are we going to disappoint them, or are we going to give them hope, our elders, our grandma, our grandpa? Let's study. Let's study the history too.
right.
What made the white man do us? And how did it start? Where did it start from?
Right.
And why do our people turn their back on their own identities?
Yeah.
Why?
Why?
There's a reason. It doesn't just happen.
Right.
There's a reason. So a bunch of us young people began to really think about that, and we found out they call it colonization.
Mm.
That's what they did to us. And that's probably one of the hardest things to get free from is
Right.
colonization.
Right. Right.
You cannot free yourself from it unless you have a strong spirituality.
Right.
And I'm not talking about religion.
Right.
I'm talking about a free spiritual experiences and events. And
Right.
from there, the power will come to free us from the colonizational programs of the past.
Mm.
So the young people, that's why we made the White Roots of Peace that traveled to every reservation in all the United States and Canada, and some into Mexico a bit, but not that much there,
Right.
to try to see if we can ask our people, young and old, when you throw away the bathwater, make sure the baby isn't in there.
Right.
That's what we use, that philosophy.
Right. Right.
Revisit our sun dance, our thunder dances, our ghost dances,
Mm-hmm.
our strawberry dances, our maple tree dances, our bear dances, our eagle dances, our little people dances,
Mm-hmm.
everything the Creator gave us. Let's look at it one, two, or three more times
Right.
before we disregard it, because within those are our truths that the
Right.
Creator put it in our hands
Yes.
at the first beginning of the world. And let us not abuse our Creator and our Mother Earth.
Right.
Let's follow our ceremony again, because our ceremony is the one that makes the world and life go on.
Right.
And so the White Roots of Peace came about, and many things younger people we did. So now all the roundhouses are not sparsely seated.
Mm.
Now, if you go to any ceremony of the Iroquois roundhouses, there's hardly room to get in there to practice a ceremony.
Right.
Old, middle-aged, young have returned in
Wow.
hundreds of numbers.
Wow.
And so I don't have nothing but hope and a great applaud, encouragement, and gratitude to our young people. We have the best young people in all the world. And then I'm going to also say it's not just the Indian native people that's the great young people,
Mm-hmm.
but even the Irish and the Italian young are starting to wake up.
Yes.
So now what we have to do, I think,
Mm-hmm.
is that we have to heal our own selves, because even though um, I have studied and learned, and I was fortunate to have been taught by some of the greatest leaders that remained on North America,
Mm-hmm.
even with all that, I'm still scarred,
Yeah.
and I still can carry that colonial downgrading of my own spirit.
Right.
now and then, and I have to catch myself not to do that. And so we have to heal from that somehow
Hmm.
and relearn thoroughly and genuinely what the Creator gave us, the ceremonies and the history, the wampums and the Constitution, the clan system, and how to get married, how to bury our old, how
Right.
to communicate with herbal medicine again to heal our sick.
Hmm.
And then when we finish, when we're healthy and strong enough, then we have to put our minds together. How now do we talk to America?
Right.
How now do we talk to Europe? How now do we talk to Africa
Right.
so that we may help them?
Right.
And I'm not saying convert them,
Right. No.
but I'm saying reintroduce them
Right.
to the facts
Right.
of our life.
Right.
And that's the Mother Earth, the sun that makes the corn and the food we eat grow every day. How
Right.
do you have ceremony for them to say thank you?
Yes.
Because if the sun should go out, everybody is going to go out. Every army, every Donald Trump, every millionaire
Yep.
is going to go out.
Yep.
So that's why we have sun dances,
Right.
so the sun won't go out, so that not only will humans live, but the bears, the deers, the moose, the raccoons,
Right.
muskrat, they will live too.
Yes.
And the grass will live too. And the water will live too. That's what our ceremonies is about.
Right.
That's what we were told when we were given permission to live on this earth.
Yes.
And that's what our spirituality is about and nothing more.
Yeah. Wow. That's whew, that's a lot. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm an emotional person, and I know we've just chatted here and there before. We've never really sat and talked, but I feel every bit of what you're saying, every bit of it, every bit of it. Yeah. Well, I'm
So
not
we
gonna.
have a big job.
Yes. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And I hope the younger people can make you guys feel proud for holding steady for us too, though, because so many of our elders that have been, we all have, like you said, been touched with colonization, but some of them have just walked away and just decided to not be visible anymore, right? And then some have. And the ones that have, I know you guys have went through a lot of sacrifice so that we may still be able to have that chance, right? To be that baby to learn, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so really thank you for that. Really thank you for staying true. And
Mm-hmm.
because I know, I mean, you're human. You see what's going on around you. Sometimes it's hard for me here. I'm here in the city in New York. Oh, God forbid, I know it's tough, but yeah, whew, got me emotional right now. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but I only
No, I
talk.
can't say enough about. I can't say enough about our young. They give me lots of hope.
Hmm.
I have one little grandson. He's a smoke dancer. He's just a little over 1 years old.
Okay.
Can he smoke dancing?
Really? Oh,
So that's
wow.
yeah,
Oh, that's
yeah. Here's
beautiful.
that drum and his grandpa, my son is his grandfather, and is my
Uh-huh.
great grandson.
Okay.
By golly, he can dance. He's not even just a little over 1 years old,
Wow.
and he just danced like you can. As soon as he hears his grandpa singing, my son, that's his
Yeah, hit that
grandpa.
little.
Yeah,
He's
yeah. He
gone. He's
puts his
gone.
arms up, and yeah. So that's the future.
Yes.
That's the future.
Yes.
So we
And
have to stay in touch with them as much as possible
yes.
and be with them as they grow. That's what a grandpa's supposed to do.
Right.
That's what a father and an uncle is supposed to do. And
Right.
an aunt, grandma, and mother
Yeah.
supposed to be with them
Right.
all the way.
Yeah.
And we stop only when we die.
Yeah. And then,
But then what we taught them will keep going.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my time with you is up, unfortunately. I I hate we couldn't talk more. I was up your way about 2 years ago up there to Akwesasne for the seed sovereignty program with Angela Ferguson from Onondaga.
Oh yeah, yeah,
and Roger. I was up there and
yeah. Roger's my cousin.
yeah, and somebody took my t-shirt that I had on up there. I had a nice t-shirt on. They said they liked it and I had to get rid of it. They gave me a nice little gourd rattle at the airport though, right? They said,
Well, that's good. Yeah.
yeah, but
I know they're doing good. The younger people
yes,
are doing lots of good programs and lots of good traditional things.
yes,
That's why I'm proud of them.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna have to close us down, unfortunately, because this is the only time slot that we paid for. And so I'm going to, once I'm finished this, I'm gonna send you a copy of the link so you'll have it for your files, okay, of this recording.
All right.
And I'll need you to email me your address so I can forward something to you, an honorarium to you, okay? Whenever you do it, not now. You can text, you can email it to me later.
Okay, I'm not sure how to do that though,
Okay, well,
because I'm not good on this kind of stuff.
okay, well, somebody sent me an email and said that they got my it was good to connect.
That was my grandson.
Yeah,
He sent it.
All right, we'll work through your grandson then.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
We'll make
Okay.
sure we take care of you though, okay?
All right. Okay. Well, you be safe and stay well. And
All right. You do the same. Yahweh.
yeah.
All right.